Abuja, where the minister, Wike, on Thursday ordered the revocation of 762 plots of land belonging to individuals and corporate organizations. Well, according to the public notices issued by the Federal Capital Territory Administration, the affected groups failed to pay their certificates of occupancy for the confiscated plots. Well, according to the notice, some of those whose CFOs were revoked include the Muhammadu Buhari Trust Foundation, said to be owned by former President Muhammadu Buhari, Walter Onogen, former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Tajuddin Abbas, Speaker of the House of Representatives, and about 750 others. I mean, Dr. Avati, this news made the rounds. I believe that you guys also had interviewed one of Wike's, what was he? Spokesman. And he had also alluded to the fact that, some of the lands were revoked, but now it's been published. But also a lot of people were, taken aback by the names that were on that list, including, of course, former President Muhammadu Buhari. Well, Garba Shehu, spokesperson to former President Muhammadu Buhari, in a post on Buhari's X account, stated that his principal does not own any land titles recently revoked by the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. Well, his tweet reads in part: "The former president is personally not the owner of the said plot of the land, which is allocated in the name a Muhammadu Buhari Foundation. The foundation was itself floated by utilitarian individuals around him who, it must be said, went about it in an unlawful manner with the support of a number of well-meaning persons. But they ran into roadblock in the land department of the FCDA, which handed them an outrageous bill for the issuance of the certificate of occupancy, very high in cost, that did not at all compare with the bills given to similar organizations. It may have been that this was not erroneous, but a deliberate mistake, making the revocation of the land no surprise to anyone. As a person, the former president has a plot of land to his name in Abuja. When he and his cabinet members were invited to fill the forms and obtain land during his tenure in office, he returned the form without filling it, saying that he already had a plot of land in the FCT that those who did not have should be given. He therefore turned down the offer. So please, let all those jumping up and down in the digital space, talking about the rightfulness or lack of it on the reported seizure of Buhari's land in Abuja, get their facts right and stop dragging down the name of the former president. This is from Garba Shehu. Well, Dr. Avati, we only just celebrated President Muhammadu Buhari on this program a few days ago. He turned 82. I mean, the clarification, I don't even know if it's a real clarification at this point. Dr. Avati, go ahead.
No, I think the clarification by Garba Shehu should be adequate, because what he's saying is that the land in question, that is called Buhari land, does not belong to the president. If it is his land, if they have any evidence to the contrary, I'm sure that they will have the appropriate records in the Federal Capital Territory. And then they went a step further to, protect the integrity of the former president, to say that, he has a plot of land. Truly, when he had the opportunity to get a second one, he declined. In other words, every Nigerian is entitled to own land, which now takes me to the Federal Capital Territory's side of the story. Even if you have the right to own land, there must be processes. You must follow processes. If you have certificate of occupancy, right of occupancy, what is being said by the Federal Capital Territory here is that persons did not pay for their CFO. You remember, there was a case of land revocation in Kwara State involving a former governor. The issue that the incumbent governor brought up then was that, this man got this allocation, but never paid for it. And you cannot occupy government land that you have not paid for. And on the basis of that, they said they were going to revoke the right of occupancy, which became a big issue. So this is similar. And in the case of the FCT, the minister or the ministry says they have already published the list of persons who have not paid up. They have told them, you know, this is the time frame within which you should pay. Is it 2 weeks or is it 2 months? And many persons have not done that. It's on the basis of that that they are revoking, you know, the right to those titles. However, if there's anybody that is aggrieved, if there has been a miscarriage of justice in any of the cases, I'm sure the kind of names that we have had, former governors, former members of the National Assembly, well, there will probably be, you know, ordinary people there. But the standout names are the names of former chief justices and all of that. And these are persons who know their rights. If they've been wrongfully, you know, treated, they will go to court. Yeah. But what the FCT is saying is that no matter how big you are in this country, you have to follow due process. Yeah. You cannot collect government land and sit on it and say you will not pay. Yeah. If that is a basic principle and is done fairly and justly, then I do not see any problem.
It's good that Garba Shehu detailed the facts, but it does appear that he is aware of the facts, and of course Buhari will be aware of the facts. And so that was the brouhaha that was going on online with the fact that, you know, the FCT minister was going after these top officials. So we also know that Wike threatened to withdraw the rights of occupancy of rights of occupancy of about 614 other individuals and companies if they failed to pay outstanding bills for their plots of land within 2 weeks. I mean, we can just say that Wike is trying to make FCT London. Of the stampede that occurred in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, on Wednesday, where 35 children lost their lives during a children's fun fair. Well, on Thursday, the Oyo State Police Command arrested Naomi Shile-Kuonla, the ex-wife of the Ooni of Ife, who organized the event, and 7 others, including the principal of the Islamic High School in Basharun, where the event took place. I mean, we commiserate again with the families, and I believe that the Ooni of Ife has also expressed his condolences to the Oyo State government and, you know, the bereaved families. He offered his support to the families, and he's also called for measures to prevent such incidents. Well, in the meantime, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has ordered an investigation into the Ibadan stampede. The president gave the order in a statement issued on Thursday by Bayo Ononuga, his special advisor on information and strategy. The president called for a thorough inquiry to determine whether negligence or deliberate actions contributed to the stampede. And this is what we've been talking about, whether it is deliberate action. Like I said, Naomi, the ex-wife of the Ooni of Ife, has been arrested, including, I believe, the principal of that school. But also, there was also the radio station that, you know, had been involved through the announcement made, you know, by Agidigbo FM. But guess what, Dr. Abati? I mean, this is not the first time that this sort of event is happening. There's a video trending online. If we can play up that video of the Agidigbo FM. They've also organized carnivals like this. Let's pull up that video. I mean, that stampede could have occurred in that place as well. I mean, this is what we are talking about, and that is why President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's statement was quite apt. But I believe Adefemi Akinsoya earlier this morning wanted to pull up a picture of the Agidigbo FM chairman, Ariyomi Hamzat, who, you know, posted a picture of himself unconscious after that tragic event. I believe, you know, this picture has gone viral with condemnation all over. Rufi.
Like we said, it's very insensitive. It is not the time you should be doing this. I know you can't say if somebody is truly ill or not ill, but a lot of people said, oh, where's the bubble in the water that was supposed to be there, the oxygen and everything. I don't know about his state of health, except a qualified doctor does a proper report about his state of health. But it's not the time to now say, oh, I am also a victim. No. It shows a lack of empathy for people that have lost their children. 35 of them and counting are here. Most importantly, it has also shown that Agidigbo had in the past done things or done events that might have caused a stampede. And you can see, we're talking about, Dr. President, we're talking about the building laws. Just one egress point. So the question is, should they have been able to assemble that number of people at that point, with that narrow point? Also, when you even look at it, if there was a stampede in that scenario, it would have been the worst one. You know why? Because the other point that leads out totally is the expressway. So if people had a need to run, it would have been the expressway. So it's just like also the Basham Road scenario that we have only seen one exit point at this point in time. So there must be a proper investigation. Secondly, for events of this magnitude, it was a good thing you talked about the permit. What permit do they get? It was just like the case of the River State too. And also, we are saying this because people will use big stadiums very soon to do crossover services. Because that's always the main thing. What kind of plans are made for things like that? What kind of egress points are made for things like that? The wife, the former wife of the Ooni, that's Prophetess Naomi, has been put into custody. She must be interrogated on how the planning was done. Also, the principal that approved that use of venue, did he also go back to check with the state government and all of that? Because also, apart from the crowds there, Oji, I have not even seen people directing. Because if you have events of this magnitude, you will see last month some other people, you know, agents of state, paramedics and all of that. You can't see any of such inside. So what was the adequate preparation made for things like this? Most importantly, it's Christmas period. We'll all have events one way or the other. Even if it's in a small hall that you have about 200 people, do we do safety checks? Do people even know the egress points? Do people even know the multiple exit points? Most halls in Lagos also just have one egress point. Too many event centers, they don't bring them with multiple egress points. So I think these are the things we should be able to look at strongly for safety and security this period. But let's allow them investigate. We can't prejudge what will happen. At the end of the investigation, we'll see. But the sad part is the lives that have never been lost will not be brought back. And this might happen again. Because why? It's a cultural thing.
All right. Aya, really quickly, before we can pull up our next story.
All right, yeah, so, I mean, you said a lot of things. And one of the things I just wanted to say is that the reason why we're hammering on this is that it's happened before. In 2019, I'd mentioned earlier that it happened at a political rally in Port Harcourt. In 2022, at a church, it happened where a stampede occurred. So it's just this thing around how we plan for big events. And we have such a large population that it's almost inevitable for us not to have gatherings like this. So the importance and the way to keep the memory of these children alive and to honor what happened to them or to honor their memories to ensure that we prevent a reoccurrence. And how can we do this? In other parts of the world, in the UK, for instance, when you want to have an event, you had to register, especially depending on the size of the event, register the event with the local authority. Then they will come and check that you've done there's a risk assessment register done, and you're able to mitigate, at least anticipate any potential risks and what measures you've put in place to mitigate those risks. I don't think we have risk assessment registers at all. And then depending on the number of people that you gather in a place, you must have, as a matter of necessity, emergency services on ground in the event that anything happens. So paramedics, first aiders, you must have policemen, last mile crowd control, you must have these people. I don't know if this was adhered to or even if there was a process that was followed by the organizers. A lot of people have come out to say, oh, it's so sad, they wanted to do something good and it's turned out bad. That's the unfortunate part of this incident. But the truth is that even when you want to do good, don't let the good not turn to evil because of a lack of due process or, in the words of the president, negligence. It's negligence we're talking about. And unfortunately, when your negligence leads to a loss of lives, this massive and this tragic, then people have to pay for it. It's not because they didn't want to. Sometimes things happen without you intending for it to happen. So I hope that a thorough investigation will be done. The people who are involved will be apprehended, and very importantly, policies emerge from this incident. Very sad.